Hi. We're Jimmy and Johnny Lewis, and we are the two old farts traveling. Sometimes we're traveling, sometimes we're just old farts. 62 years ago, I came to this place the first time. And I remember sitting on a seat in one of the glass bottom boats. Somebody dropped an ink pen on the floor of the glass bottom boat and wanted me to get down and get it. And I refused to touch the glass. I was afraid it was going to fall in. Such a cool, calming noise. Oh, yeah.
Now, no worries, because they say the boat is actually unsinkable. The manufacturer said that. The boat would fill up with water and wouldn't actually sink, but he was also the same designer that designed the Titanic. So we don't want to put it to the test, so I think we'll be okay. Got a nice day. 2 degrees year-round, regardless of the outside temperature. Now, there's over 100 springs on a 5-mile stretch of the river, and combined they can flow over 500 million gallons of water every 24 hours. Because that depends on a lot of things, especially rainfall, things that affect the Florida aquifer, which is where all the water comes from. And the aquifer is merely an underground series of rivers that provide turtles that you'll see in the water and along the edge and have climbed out to get a little sunshine. Those are the peninsula cooter turtles. They call them sliders, when they climb out on these logs and slide back in the water. We have a variety of freshwater fish as well. Most common are bluegill, we have long-nosed gar, mullet. They're the ones you're going to see jumping out of the water on occasion. And bass, bowfin, catfish, many different varieties. Now we're going to make our way around the corner here to the right, come into this first spring area called the Spring of Stars. The small blue ones with a V-shaped tail, those are blue shad. Then we have a larger, more of a rounder, fatter bluefish that's much larger than the shad with like a fantail. Those are actually tilapia. Limestone. It's one of the reasons the river got its name, because when the sun shines on it, you can see it does give it a silvery appearance. Now the spring got its name because it's dedicated to all the movie celebrities that have been here over the years doing TV and movies. All the way back to 1916, they had a film crew in here doing an old black and white movie called The Seven Swans. And since then, we've had many celebrities here doing all or part of their filming, especially any underwater scenes. And in fact, ABC Broadcasting owned the property for many years and did a lot of filming here. That's called The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Rico Browning.
That's it, Rico Browning. Actually, they have one of his costumes on display up in the education center. You can see up there. It's in a little case. Now, we should have a group of those bluegill that will be swimming under glass here for your viewing enjoyment. Here they come.
Right there.
You know we had trained fish here today. There's another darker fish you're going to be seeing down here. It's got a long dorsal fin runs down his back. That's called a bowfin. The coolest fish we have here is the long-nosed gar. We'll be hopefully seeing some of those guys. So we're going to give them a little treat for their cooperation.
I think it's a spring. Oh, yeah, this is the spring. Oh, yeah. I think it was 30-something.
Two of the three creature movies were actually made here at Silver Springs and one up at Ocala Springs. It was called the Abyss. It was actually called the Bright. That's one of the reasons the river got its name, because when the sun shines on it, you can see it does give it a silvery appearance. Now the spring got its name because it's dedicated to all the movie celebrities that have been here over the years doing TV and movies. All the way back to 1916, they had a film crew in here doing an old black and white movie called The Seven Swans. And since then we've had many celebrities here doing all or part of their filming, especially any underwater scenes. And in fact, ABC Broadcasting owned the property for many years and did a lot of filming here. Now these little striped fish that we're seeing, these are bluegill, and we'll be seeing more of them here in just a second. The weather conditions flows at different volume of water. And it's pretty much all about the rain or the lack thereof. You got a lot of rain, it recharges the aquifer, more water comes out, and the river gets deep like neck and a spear-like beak, often called the snake bird. You'll see them swimming, and with their head and neck out, it does kind of look like a snake.
That's not a bird. Yeah, it is.
Is the American alligator. So we'll be seeing them as well. They should be. One of his boats caught on fire was docked up there where you boarded. And they didn't have the means to put it out before it burned everything up, so they simply untied it and set it adrift. Most of it did float down here and burn up, but part of it sank to the bottom. Has been sitting on the bottom ever since. And this is the last piece of that old paddle wheel boat coming up. So all that's left. Ran that fleet until about 1920. Now if you want to see what the boat looks like in its entirety up in the ice cream shop, there's actually a picture of it. Part of the Heart Line, they called it. Now the canoe's made out of cypress wood. Cypress wood is called the eternal wood because it will never rot as long as it's kept submerged in water. As you'll see that have a very distinct tan head neck. Those are the females. Behind that, and I'll tell you on the way back upriver. But when I do this, the spring that we'll be talking about. Yep, you can bring your private boat up here. The only restriction is slow speed. And of course, it's a protected river now. There's no longer any swimming, diving, hunting, fishing. It's all protected for the wildlife. Depending on the size and the weather conditions, it flows at different volume of water. And it's pretty much all about the rain or the lack thereof. You got a lot of rain, it recharges the aquifer, more water comes out, and the river gets deeper. And just the opposite, when you have a drought situation like we had a couple years ago, not as much water coming out, and the river drops way down. I'll show you some examples of what it was as we get down into the forest. So it's 72 all year. Yep. And because the exchange rate is so rapid, that's why there's always 72 degrees. All the greenery you see below boat's called eelgrass. Grows about 3 or 4 feet long. And you see it all bent over a wave in one direction. Well, that's the direction of the river coming out of the main spring at about 5 miles an hour. Now, if you look in the cove here to the right, you'll see some of our cooter turtles over there climbing out to get a little afternoon sun. The weather conditions make all the difference on what you see or don't see. But we have a nice sunny day today, so we should be seeing a lot of turtles. And of course, the other reptile here of interest is the American alligator. So we'll be seeing them as well. They should be climbing out to get a little sun. Now you can never usually see, unless the gator is completely out of the water, how long he is. And the rule of thumb, laying there on that tree, facing away from us. Now this time of year, they're not really actively eating. And they don't really like the cold. It's a creature who doesn't like the cold. So what they do is they come out and lay in the sun. Because if you look at the back of the gator, and we should see some large ones when we get downriver, they have those little bumps. Looks like armor. Well, they're called scoots. And they act as little solar panels. So they lay out in the sun. They can actually absorb all that heat, store it in their body, and use it later on to keep themselves warm when it gets cold out. A built-in heater.
The water coming out of the springs, is it oxygenated?
Is it oxygenated?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Never had that question before.
Do the fish like it? I mean,
The fish love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say probably, but
probably is.
I'll have to. I would say so, yeah. However, it's not Spanish nor is it a moss. It's actually an air plant. It's a living, growing plant living on these trees. It's a distant relative of the orchid and the pineapple. Now, years ago, they used it for bedding. They would take bedding material and gather that moss up, stuff it, tied up with rope. And I'm sure you've heard the term, sleep tight, don't let the bugs bite. Well, if you want the rope to stay tight, get the bed together. And in the moss are little tiny red bugs about the size of a pinhead called chiggers. Little red bugs that get under your skin and itch and burn like crazy. Now it's said that Henry Ford used that same Spanish moss to stuff his early Model T car seats. Well, it didn't take him long to find those chiggers. From that came the first automotive recall and the term "get the bugs out of your car."
I love it.
Yeah, they're nasty little things. Now, from what I understand, this boat did not start out as a movie prop, ended up as one, but it started out as a boat that they used to use to transport oranges up and down the rivers. Oh, dear.
Is that what's in the tree up there?
We're at King Paddle Trail. It starts up in the park at the boat launch, comes down through the park, ends up here. Now all these white birds here off the left side of the boat, you see them all sitting up in the trees. Those are called white ibis. And they got a long orange curved beak on them. You got a few more turtles there on the left. You see them all climbed out there on that log. Scarlet, yeah, I've not heard that one. These are the white ibis.
Scarlet Ibis was a story written by
Story?
yeah, somebody.
All right.
And hundreds of year old.
Now I mentioned the rise and fall of the river. Even though it's not tidal, it does go up and down because of the rain. And back when we had the drought before that hurricane, all these trees that you see closest to us, that was all dry land. That's how low the river got. Then we got the hurricane and a lot of water from that, and the river went back up. But it dropped down pretty low for a little while. Sometimes they'll be double stacked in there. They really like that place. Now, back in 1959, we had an actor, I'm sure you've heard of him. His name was Jerry Lewis. He was here doing a movie called Don't Give Up the Ship. Well, apparently he did, because here it is on the bottom. Old movie prop that they sank for one of the underwater scenes that they decided to leave behind. Sitting down there a long time. Now, from what I understand, this boat did not start out as a movie prop, ended up as one, but it started out as a boat that they used to use to transport oranges up and down the rivers between here and Palatka. And it was also said to have been used to transport illegal liquor up and down the rivers during Prohibition. And then the movie people got their hands on it, turns into what they wanted for the movie, and there it sits.
The steering wheel. That looks like the steering wheel.
So we'll head on down, see what else we can find here.
Oh, you just saw?
That's his spot.
So this is George and a half.
Yeah, he's that's one of the larger ones.
Wow.
As you can see, they don't attack kayaks and canoes, and all those stories you hear are not true. He's happy laying there in the sun. The baby, that's his fully grown adult, because when the little blue is born, it's born pure white. It doesn't get that blue coloring for about a year or so. Oh, the blackbird with the orange beak, that's called a Johnny Weissmuller. Came here to start the first of 6 Tarzan movies that he filmed here on the Silver River. That the big white bird on the right, that's a great egret. One of the larger of the egrets. Same over there. Walking around. For a little while there. There's a cormorant. Looks like it's got swimming in the boat. Watch look under the glass there, see if he goes. There he goes. We also trained him to do that. But here's the turtle's favorite spot coming up on the left. It's called Turtle Row. Some people call it our local shell station. Sitting there with one of the cormorants. Now, there was 4 of them up in this area, but they do move around. Now, if they're down there grazing, generally they stay down maybe 20 minutes or so, but if they're at rest, even longer. So I really can't tell what they're doing. And they're a little too close to that tree over there. I'll swing around and we'll get next to them and then we'll move on. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where you'll see most of them. No, these look like 2 adults.
Yeah.
Are the larger of the 2. The females have weighed in 1,800 pounds and more. Now, there was 4 of them up in this area, but they do move around. Now, if they're down there grazing, generally they stay down maybe 20 minutes or so, but if they're at rest, even longer. So I really can't tell what they're doing. And they're a little too close to that tree over there. Let's see if I can get you as close as I can. Now, the female will have a calf, a live birth, every other year. Calf's about 65 pounds when it's born. And it will stay with the mother for about 2 years. Still out? Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where you'll see most of them.
He's so pretty.
No, these look like 2 adults.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I didn't see the second one. They were like the second one.
Oh, okay. This could be a male and female. Look at that.
He's been run over before.
Did that
He
start?
didn't get started back. He's eating away, he doesn't care, doesn't he?
A fully grown manatee can eat upwards of 100 pounds of vegetation every day. Where'd he go?
He's right here. He's right under us.
It's got a big scar.
He's
Yeah.
down pretty deep here. Just saw him come on. Towards the back of the boat here, so.
There he is. There he is.
Torpedo.
No, did you get him? He's been run over before.
Wow.
He's gonna start it back.
You saw him? There he is, down there munching away.
Yeah.
Cool.
Big
He's eating away, doesn't care, doesn't he?
A fully grown manatee can eat upwards of 100 pounds of vegetation every day.
He's mowing it.
Where'd he go?
He's right here. He's right under us.
It's got a big scar.
The other bird in there, it looks like a little blue, but it's actually a tricolor heron. It's called a Louisiana heron. Got a little bit of white on it.
For so long.
People, what they do is they come here. If you can launch your own, but a lot of people just rent the boats here at the park because they have a service. If you want to drift down with the current, and you don't want to paddle little spiky things around the base of the tree. That's the root system. They're called cypress knees. And what they do is they grow up out of the water to allow the tree to breathe, and they spread themselves out, and that gives the tree stability so they can withstand a lot of the storms that come through. Now they used to, years ago, cut those knees and make souvenirs and things like that, but that kills the tree. They don't do that anymore.
Any kayakers to alligators?
We have not. Well, no casualties on the kayakers. There's only been one incident that I've ever been told about when I started working here, but one of the other captains, Captain Oscar, he's worked here for 50 years running these boats, still working. He said about 20 years ago there was three guys in like a little bow rider boat, little 16, 17 foot boat, and they're out here. It was during mating season. That's when you get some of the big male gators in here, like that one you saw up there. Well, apparently they wanted to take a photograph, which is normal. So the captain got the boat in there, and I guess the current kind of pushed them right up in there. So now one of the guys got so excited they're getting close to this gator, gets on the bow of the boat. He's looking down, and now they're right over this gator taking his picture. Well, I don't know what happened with the picture, but the captain had to back up real quick because he was going into a log, and the guy lost his footing, and he fell out of the boat on top of the alligator. And it freaked out the gator. I mean, if you're laying there, you'd be freaked out too, so you can't blame the gator. Turn around and bit both of the bottoms of his leg off. But he survived. He didn't kill him. And he had the nerve to actually sue the captain for his actions. Can you believe it? And it went to court, but the judge dismissed it because he didn't have a leg to stand on. So, sorry, I had to get that out of the way. It's a bad joke Friday, I think. No incidents here. Nobody's been bitten or attacked. He's been there all day. Probably will stay there.
How many trips do you make?
We did 3. 11, 1, and 3. 3 with the long boat. The other boats run all day. Pretty good jaw pressure, about 2,000 pounds per square inch. Leg pressure. So I'm happy we're having the sun. today so we could see some stuff.
Yeah, I think it's 37 degrees.
It was pretty chilly this morning. They grow, they're about 4 or 5 inches when they're born, but they grow very quickly. The first early 80s was Jackie Gleason. He was here doing Smokey and the Bandit 3. Tom Cruise, Legend, Michael J. Fox, Doc Hollywood. 3 James Bond movies. Never Say Never Again, Moonraker, and Thunderball. That was Sean Connery in 2 and Roger Moore in 1. And of course the list goes on and on. Many different TV shows and commercials and all kinds of filming. Now for many years there was no filming done until this past March of last year. ABC Broadcasting came back with a film crew and started filming a pilot made-for-TV movie called Salvage. It's due to come out sometime this year. It stars Will Patton and Jim Belushi and some others that I wasn't familiar with. But generally it's one or the other. Now as the sun sets this time of year, all these turtles are going to be on this side of the river because of the way the sun comes down in the afternoon, and they're really enjoying the sun. Usually they give you a receipt.
That's a female, Daddy.
This is a female and you can get here on the right, correct?
See, I was listening.
You get that question right. Now around here on the right side of the boat, up in the walking trail, you'll see that big statue up there. That's Chief Osceola from the Seminoles. He's the only chief that did not sign the peace treaty. And that's what that represents, his knife through the treaty. Wasn't having it. Now also on the right, just along the wall here, past this little sign coming up, you're going to see a palm tree that has grown out over the bank of the river in the shape of a loop. This is a sable palm, sometimes known as the cabbage palm. It's the Florida state tree. Now this particular tree is called the tree of luck, because they say if you walk down this little boardwalk or docking area here, if you come down to the end and step over that first tree trunk as it comes out and wraps itself around, and stand right in between the two of them, it kind of forms a little loop there, and then have your picture taken, you'll have 5 years of good luck. Why it grew that way, no one really knows. And they did build the dock around the tree. It was there long before the dock was.
Where in the world?
So that could be more than 200 million gallons come out of this one spring every day. Now on a smaller scale, that could be 3,000 gallons a second. So quite a bit of water coming out of this guy. Deepest point in this spring, upwards of 60 feet. Now this was a favorite of the TV and movie producers because of the size and the depth of the water. And actually back when ABC Broadcasting still owned the property, at one point they set up a big tower, they had a high dive competition, and they broadcast it on the ABC Wide World of Sports. Now all the water's coming out of the cave system. I'll show you part of it here towards the front of the boat. Cave's about 10 foot high and pretty much covers the whole side of the spring over here. It wraps itself around like a big semicircle. Now you can't see the water coming out like you could in the snowstorm. You can see we do have a lot of private boaters. There's sunglasses and cell phones and cameras. And actually, there was an iPhone over here. I don't know if I can find it here. It's been down there a couple of weeks. It's starting to get some algae growth on it.
So that's the start.
Sometimes you can see it. We have divers come in once a month and clean our boats and come out with all kinds of crazy stuff.
So that's 60 feet down. There's a pipe in there.
There used to actually be, well, many years ago, there was an underwater viewing area here. But that's been taken out, so you could have some remnants of that as well. The one more thing I want to show you before we head in, I'm going to circle over 3 statues coming out. They're leftover movie props from an old TV show that was filmed here back in the 60s called I Spy. Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. They're about 7 feet tall, made out of fiberglass and weighted down with concrete. They're sitting in about 40 feet of water. They were also used in those 3 James Bond movies I mentioned, Never Say Never Again, Moonraker, and Thunderball. Now, originally there was 9 of them. They took 2 of them out, put them up in the education center. You can see them up there, up close and personal. Left these 3 and took the rest with them.
Wow.
They were originally put down there back in the early 60s for an assortment of TV and movies, and they've been down there ever since. You can't feel the current, but it's pushing me around here. Everybody see him okay?
Yeah.
All right. We have a little bump here at the end.
Good.